1, 2, 3, funk it.
My darling, I love you, 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 I love you.
3, 2, 1. Be like water, my friend. Water. No.
Is this the Bruce Lee one?
It's the Bruce Lee one.
Okay. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this episode is brought to you by Core Hydration. Kong-san, have you ever been thirsty?
No.
You haven't. Andrew. I'm just kidding. This is not brought to you by Core. Although it would be kind of cool.
That'd be fine.
Yeah, we've had a lot of water companies on here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of Good Times with the Boys. It is December 18th. Happy Taco Tuesday to everybody. I don't think anyone's ate tacos today.
No, I had Korean barbecue.
You know what though? It's a week away from Christmas.
Literally, you're right.
I played some Christmas music at work today, and there were people who don't. I found out today people don't like Christmas music. So tomorrow,
Whoa there.
I'm gonna wear a bright ass Christmas sweater with Will Smith's face in the front, and those Grinches are about to be in for a treat.
Double down. I love that.
Yeah.
I don't know why though.
I don't know, they're just a bunch of Grinches.
I mean, I get we said this before about prematurely playing Christmas music, but bro, Christmas music is in full effect right now.
Oh hell yeah!
I don't know how many times I played the NSYNC Christmas.
Best Christmas song ever.
Oh my god, so many times now over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, we hear Good Times with the Boys. Although we're comedians, we're funny guys. We also think too. Okay,
Yeah.
We're intellectuals. We go into deep thought. And sometimes, man, we get so deep, we transcend beyond this physical being that we're inhabiting right now.
Yeah.
We start thinking beyond our minds, thinking outside
Our brains.
our brains, and I feel like this is just a topic that we've come across a lot. Sometimes, depending on where we are in life, we question certain things.
Yes.
And we're going to shed some light on some of the things we think about.
Yeah, we're not just pretty faces, and we're not just pretty voices. We're pretty minds too.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not a rapper though, but
Oh my
I got
God.
bars, you know?
damn.
So there's a lot of things we believe in. And speaking of belief, I think one half of the table grew up a particular way, and another half of the table grew up another particular way.
You can literally split it down the middle.
We're going to talk about a little conversation of religion versus spirituality. What does it mean? How do we define it? How does that shape our world and how we see the world, sort of thing? So, I don't know if you want to kick things off.
Yeah, man. And let me say this also. Okay, we're not here to slander any type of beliefs or what beliefs you may have or your loved ones have. These are just our thoughts. Okay.
Yeah, these are just our experiences that we grew up with and how it shaped us right now.
Yep.
Yeah. And so as I've gotten older, my boys, once you get older, you pick up more things along the road of life. Hopefully you get a little more intelligent, but more so you start thinking for yourself. And no, I mean, not to sound selfish, but you just start thinking more and how things work around you to make you the person that you are. And I feel like the changes that we make, however bad or good, are all learning lessons. And before I stray away too far away, I'll just start off by saying I'm Filipino, obviously.
I didn't know that. I thought you were black. Wink.
Oh, sometimes I wish I was. Sometimes, but yeah. So I grew up Catholic, man. I grew up Roman Catholic. My mom, my dad, hardcore Catholics. They go to church every Sunday, and that's what I grew up with. Okay, every Sunday. I don't know up until when, but I wasn't getting forced to go. It was like, okay, this is just part of the normal routine.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I went through the catechism and the confirmation. For those of you that are familiar with the Catholic protocol, if you will. So I went through all that. And then I don't know what happened, but something started to change. Again, I started thinking outside of my brain a little bit.
Are you still talking about religion, or is this puberty?
Oh, you know,
I felt the change in my body.
yeah, I felt the change of my body outside of my body, inside of my body,
I felt the Holy Spirit release itself.
inside me. Oh no, spiritually inside me.
Okay.
There we go.
Good.
Okay,
Good save.
and yeah, and to make an abrupt point, I don't know where I'm at right now as far as the whole religion thing.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm sorry that if that offends people, but that's how I feel. You know, maybe it's because I always thought myself as being kind of an asshole. You know, but I believe there's a reason. There's a reason for everything. Okay, there's a reason why I'm not a dunce and I just pull things out of the air. But that's kind of where I've gravitated as far as the term religion goes, because you know we have to talk about spirituality. But that's my early days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Andrew, is it similar to you?
Yeah. So I am also Filipino, for those of you that don't know. And growing up Catholic, I went to a Catholic private school from K through 8. So not only did I go to church every Sunday, but I also had mandatory mass every Friday.
Ooh.
Wow.
And so on top of that, I was also an altar boy for, I want to say 4 years of that entire time that I was there. So not only was I going to
Way more Catholic than I am already when you were younger.
So I had my first communion, did all that, had religion class every day, or not every day, maybe like once or twice a week,
Yeah.
on top of going to mass every Friday and then serving at mass sometime during the week as well, like before school even
Yeah.
started, and then having to go to church Sunday. Then I ended up being the bass player for the church band for 2 years.
Slapping the bass.
Too easy.
And so, yeah, I was deep in the game, the Catholic game.
Yeah.
But going to high school, learning all these different things about life and everything, and just not being contained in that little Catholic box, it changed things in my own perspective too.
Yeah. My experience is a little different.
Oh, pre-tell comes on.
Yeah. My dad's side of the family is Catholic or Christian, I forget. My mom's side of the family is the other one that my dad's side of the family isn't. My mom is agnostic. My dad is atheist / Buddhist. So I kind of grew up.
Wait, your dad? You just said your dad was Christian.
My dad's side of the family.
Oh, side of the gotcha.
My dad himself is not like that. And then in middle school, I went to a Baptist church for 3 years. Did the youth ministry stuff. Went to summer camp, all that jazz. I kind of grew up in sort of like a helter-skelter religiously, like just kind of everywhere. And I've been to a Catholic church. I've been to a Christian church. I've been to within a Christian church, I've been to a Baptist church, like I think a Lutheran church, all these different churches. In college, my 2 college roommates were Christian, so we would go to Sunday church from time to time together. You know, my dad would recommend books about Buddhism, but also about, you know, spirituality and all this other stuff. So I've sort of floated along the spectrum of religion continuously. So I would say that for me, for better or for worse, I am a bit more sure about religion and spirituality now than I would say somebody like maybe German is, who kind of started out more sure and now is, I guess, unsure. You know, they're distinct. You can be, however, you could have religion and be spiritual, but how do I explain this? You can be spiritual but not religious, but and you can be religious and not spiritual in a sense, I guess. I don't know. I don't think that they are mutually exclusive. Is that the thing? I think you can be either or both or neither. One of the other. I don't care. So let's just kind of get into our self definition of what religion is and what your definition of spirituality is.
So, okay. Again, I'm not as well versed as Andrew was. I didn't do any of that. I didn't do any of the altar boy. I went to catechism. I didn't go to a Catholic school or anything like that. Richard went to Catholic school as well.
Yeah.
But my layman's terms definition for religious beliefs and spiritual beliefs. Religious beliefs, it's almost like a job. It's almost like a job. That's how I think about it. And not all jobs are bad. Again, just trying to be as open as possible.
Right.
But when you have a job, you have to do it. Okay. When you have a job, you have to do it. Being spiritual, I think, is more of also kind of having a job, but it's like freelance work.
Okay.
Where you're not necessarily tied to the man. Literally, if you're religious, you are tied to some type of higher being.
Yeah.
Specifically, if you were Christian or Catholic, Jesus Cristo himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then for as far as being spiritual, without trying to sound like a hippie or anything like that, you're more in tune with the ideas and the values. But I feel like, I feel like you're not subject to doing certain things at a regimented time because you have to do them. And that was a big thing too for as I was growing up and realizing more, and it might be a personal problem, but when I remember I know a lot of people who have gone through church with me, who have grew up with me, when they grow up, they've had a kinship to the church, they've had a kinship to their faith, right, and all that, and more power to you guys. Sometimes I actually wish maybe I was like you, because I'm not saying that whatever you believe in is false or anything like that, but they seem to have found something better in their life. They're more enlightened, right? Whereas I kind of live more on the base level, just because that's how I like it to be. I like things that are conceivable to me, that I've seen, that I've experienced. But as I was growing up, I never really clicked with, oh man, I can't wait to go to church this Sunday and spill my sins and ask for forgiveness and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever recall ever doing that when I was growing up. I do recall going to catechism and meeting my friends there, like my Saturday schools. That was fun because I can crack jokes over there, and it was fun for me. It was just another group of people for me to interact with. But you should be happy because you are preaching the word of God. That's what religion is all about. You know what I mean? I had a bit where I was kind of comparing religion to like a pyramid scheme. But I'll work on that a little bit later. Okay. But yeah, and for on the other side, as far as the spirituality side, I'm not atheist per se. I'm not Satanist or anything like that. I'm more agnostic, probably more Christian, but I understand Christianity also has its checks that you have to do, right? But it just doesn't feel as stringent. Catholics, you have to do the fasting for 40 days and 40 nights. You have to go to midnight mass next week. You have to go to church every Sunday. You have to pray the rosary. You have to confess as often as possible. Yeah. They look down on you when you don't confess. And it's like, every time I've gone to confession, you have to say, my last confession was whatever. Of the times I've gone to confession, one of the times I said, hello, Father, yada, 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 my name is something. My last confession was 7 years ago. Fast forward that. Hello, Father, my last confession was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's weird to me because, and it sounds bad to say I don't want to be there, but I don't want to lose the faith also, right?
Interesting.
But that's where the spirituality comes in. I do believe that there's a higher being. I understand there's a higher being. And then, I can go more into like the actual Immaculate Conception and bread into, or rock into bread and water into wine kind of thing. But, it's just, I'm gonna gauge my assholeness. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm less sensitive to that because I wasn't grown into a fully religious household. So I would say that your definition's pretty accurate. I mean, for me, religion is a set of rules set forth by some text, some historical text that people have decided and agreed upon. These are the rules. Versus spirituality is a set of rules that's set forth by a way of life. You want to live a certain way, so these are the rules that have to be set forth for the people to live this certain way. Now, if you need religion, or if religion works for you in order for you to be spiritual, for me, the way I see that is, the set of rules provided by the text help you achieve the way of life and the way of life that you want to live. And not everybody is wired to be like that. But, I consider myself spiritual as well. I think people need to understand that you need to live beyond yourself, beyond for yourself. And that is spiritual in essence. So I think of him in those terms, where like, if religion helps you become spiritual, then that religion is for you. If you don't need religion and you are already spiritual, just based on whatever other beliefs that you have, then that's fine too. Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen so many examples of so many different people across different denominations behave various different ways. And as year goes on, things flip-flop. People trade spaces, and people either become a more extreme version of what they were or the polar opposite. So I think it always really depends. But to German's point, as you grow older, you collect more data. And as you collect more data, it's very possible your thoughts and what you used to think would change, for sure. I can remember in middle school, as I was going through the Baptist church, I really wanted to go to summer camp, and my parents were like, that's fine. And then in 8th grade, I really wanted to go on a mission to Mexico to help build churches there. And my parents were like, okay, listen.
Okay, listen, Michael Scott.
Yeah, they're like, let me, I want to have a talk with you, like, why are you really, do you go? Are you going because of your friends, or are you going because you really want to build a church? Mm-hmm. And that's when I kind of realized I was kind of going because of my friends. So, things are fluid. They come and go. You have the right to change your opinion. You have the right to change your mind. You have the right to change the way you live your life. And, I'm sure you guys can remember a couple significant events in this spectrum of your life that puts you in one path for a little bit until another event puts you another path. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Can you recall what some of those moments were?
I can't say for myself personally. Well, not right now. I'm going to think about that. But I do have a story about someone that I knew that I went to school with.
Okay.
Who ended up, after finishing Catholic high school, also went to the seminary. And through the seminary.
Is that being a priest?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a school for being a priest.
Okay.
Yeah, after he was there for like a semester or a year, he spiraled down so far away from like having faith in anything.
Wow.
Anything in religion, like just everything. He basically became a drug addict after
Holy
it.
Shit.
Because everything that he believed in up to that point, he found out was just
A fallacy.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Okay.
But then on the other side of the coin, you hear about all these criminals or drug addicts that find or are reborn, right?
Right.
And that's because there are a set of rules that they could follow, and they're a strict set of rules. And if they need that to be able to be a better person, then all for it.
Yeah.
It's I think maybe that's why also too that when I say I don't believe in karma, for instance, I guess you can lump that in kind of with belief and all that stuff. Right? Typically, people say it just for fun. Don't do that; it's bad karma, or do that; it's good karma. But I just feel like it's whatever energy, and this is the spiritual part, right? Whatever energy that you put on into the earth, depending on how you do it, and if you do it the right way, not hindering anybody from doing what they want to do, and if you have your best intentions, then then spiritually I can feel comfortable doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what karma is, though?
Right. I just I don't like people using it as a vice.
Ah.
Don't do that or you'll get bad karma, or do that you'll do bad karma. Because if you wanted to break it down, if you wanted to be real, then I would do everything good because I want good karma. But that's not how it works. It's just you do things the right way, or when you make a mistake, you learn from it. Because if you look at it this way, I have good karma by just being able to be here to talk to you guys, right? That could be good karma. I have my health that I can speak here, that I can lift this water bottle and put it. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to break it down to every single little piece, all of this is good karma right now because you're able to do that.
Yeah.
If you're spiritually in that mindset to think about it like that, but if you're thinking, "Damn it, I've been doing so good. How come I haven't got promoted at work yet?" You know what I mean? Like, come on, I need this good karma. Or I keep giving $1 to that bum outside. How come nothing's happening? It's the vice that people use to make themselves feel better, which is again, if you use religion to make yourself feel better or your belief, but it's just there are right ways to go about doing it.
Yeah, I have a couple of principal things that I actually do like about religion, and a couple of things that I have a big problem with. Things I do like about religion is it provides a way of life, like Andrew was saying, for people who may feel lost or may feel like they don't belong anywhere. Religion provides a household or a place where you have a community, a sense of belonging, and some guidelines. So where you feel like you're going askew, somebody's there to tell you either you are going in the right direction or you're not. And it provides that type of guidance and that type of leadership for you. And also it provides you that community. I think we are tribal at heart, and it's hard for me to ignore some of the more primal needs that a human being has. You know, when you look at parts of the world, like that crazy island in India.
Oh, yeah.
That it hasn't really been modernized. When you look at those, you are able to effectively look back in time and see how humanity has progressed and understand that there's still common thread between us and them. You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think with religion, I think that definitely helps. And I would say that, you know, in my middle school years, at a formative time in my life where I can easily be swayed one way or another, going to the Baptist church really did help me set a foundation as I was learning to navigate through this world as a young adult. Now, the problem I have with religion is sort of this blind necessity to say that they are the best. There is this sort of mixed message where religion seems to be like, you need to love everybody, you need to help your neighbor, you need to do this and do that. But if they don't believe in the things that you believe in, then they're the devil and they're this and they're wrong and we're better. It sounds very contradictory to me. I think a lot of times with religion, you see it on the news all the time where there's a lot of bad deeds done in this world by bad people, where there are instances where it's based off of religion, right?
There are wars based off of
Yeah, the
religion.
Seven Crusades.
So there's a facet of religion that seems sort of controlling in the sense of like, they're gathering people for numbers' sake so that they can continue to grow their religion across the world, and then they'll be the ones on top. And then it's like this.
It's like a cult.
It's like a life game of risk. They want to just take over these territories, and that is a facet of religion that I have a genuine problem with. Now with spirituality, it's a little different. There are good and bad to being spiritual. If you're saying, I understand that there's a purpose in my life that's bigger than just trying to make the best of my life for me, I think that's a part of spirituality that I like. To what German was saying earlier, if you're using spirituality for your own personal gain, meaning I'm going to give you $5 because I know down the road, spirituality says that if I give you 5, then I'll get 10 in return. That's the bad part of spirituality.
Nah, dog. Don't work like that.
Or if you say, I'm going to sit here and I'm just going to think my way to the top. That also is just not practical.
Yeah.
So I think for me, the baseline is you need to be able to somehow mesh reality into the situation. The reality of the situation is, I personally believe that there is a higher being. I don't think it's a man or a woman. I don't think it's a God or a Jesus. I don't think any of that. But there's something there. I can't explain it. So if you don't believe in it, then that's fine. But what that allows me to do is feel like I am put on this earth in this lifetime for a purpose that will help somebody else besides myself. And as long as I can help one other person, then my job here is done. And in my head, I'm imagining if every one person can help somebody else, this world would be exponentially better place.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not the case. And there is other people out there that are there to kind of stomp their way to the top. And you have to factor that into your spirituality to understand, I'm not going to get fucked with. So you have to have this balance, and life in and of itself, I feel like, is a lot about balance. So I'm not here to say one or the other is better. I'm here to say both have ups and downs. We have to be sure that we're careful about how we define it and how we use that for ourselves. There are going to be times where you use it for your own personal gain. And oftentimes, and it's fine, because I think a lot of those instances, if it's behind good intent, it's for like smaller things and things that are sort of immaterial in nature, as long as the overall intent and the overall goal is to sort of lift your community,
And excellent point, because so on one of these dating sites that we frequent,
Farmers only.
I said frequent, Kong-san.
Christian mingle.
Oh, black people meet.
Dude, I want to try. I've always wanted to try black people meet and just be like,
Did you?
What's up?
Dude. Okay, I read this. I read this article, and this was 10 years ago, so I don't know if this service still exists. But
Mail order brides.
no. It was
that definitely still exists.
It
Thank
was
God.
under the basis that Jeremy and I had the plus minus game, which we alluded to in like episode 2, long ass time ago. But effectively, because in the dating society of the heterosexual dating scene in the United States, on the male side, traditionally Asian men are the least desired.
Yeah, we suck.
We don't suck. People just are sleeping on us.
To people, we suck.
Okay, fine.
Literally, that's what it
I was
means.
like, I had no rebuttal to that. Anyway, so generally, Asian men are the least desired. Black women are the least desired in the women's side. So there's this like service where they link up specifically Asian dudes and black women, and it's like a mixer. They get together, they talk, hang out, and then they try to develop relationships. So
AMBF.
I'm gonna go on Black People Meet,
There you
and
go.
I'm gonna try to see if there's anybody that's down.
Like there's someone for.
There's somebody for everybody.
Yeah, there's somebody for everybody.
Are you sure?
Like 7.5 what, billion people?
I am willing to bet there's at least one person in this world that nobody wants. I mean, that's kind of sad to say, but I'm just saying, like,
Damn, Constant. Jesus.
there's going to be,
I believe that.
right? Like, there has to be, right? I'm a believer in not absolutes, meaning like the zeros and the hundreds. Like,
Well, I don't know, man.
I think there has to be at least one person that nobody wants.
If you look at it this way, the extremities of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Since we're talking about spirituality and religion, let's take the extremities. God / Jesus / Jehovah / the higher being, or Satan / the devil / whatever, right?
Yeah.
There is not a definitive or zero sum that either like or hate either one.
Okay.
Right? So what we have to do is we have to look on a smaller scale. Okay, we have to look on a smaller scale. Maybe that's why, because I'm having a hard time thinking about that. But on one of those dating apps, what they asked in order to get a better understanding of your matches, so you can get a better match percentage wise, one of the questions was, do you believe in the power of prayer?
Ooh, interesting.
And for the longest time, I always clicked on skip, but it doesn't go on to the next question until you answer a yes or a no, right?
Well, damn, why did they even have the skip button then?
Exactly. And so it would come up, and then finally I thought, because a lot of people do that, right? Like this post or send your prayers to whoever. And I used to do that.
I love this topic. Okay.
I used to do that, not knowing. Same thing when I was growing up. I knew what it was doing through catechism and like going to Saturday school and all. I knew what I was doing to, be in salvation at the end of my time here and all that stuff. I understood that. But this whole thing of, hey, send intangibles like your thoughts and your prayers and all that stuff. I just did that because I thought that was proper nomenclature, dude. I thought that's what the nice thing to do is, right? Until I started thinking that literally, tangibly does nothing. Okay? It does nothing. Maybe visually, because you can see people are supporting you. But then I thought on a spiritual level, if people who are trying to get through a traumatic experience, who are trying to get through grief, if the way they grieve and they feel better is seeing that they get support from people in the way of saying, here are my prayers, then who am I to hinder them from receiving that from other people who are willing to give it?
That's fine. Yeah.
Right? They're not doing it out of malice, right? They're not saying, hey, if you click on, send your prayer, you also donate $1. It's just literally your thoughts and your prayers. And if that helps somebody get through what they're trying to get through,
yes,
then by all means. And so that's why now it's like, oh, okay, now it actually means something. I click yes on that question because now I think I know what it means to somebody, or at least that's what I'm hoping for.
I think it just sums up to people's actual faith in something. Like, if that means you're adding to that person's faith in whatever good outcome is going to be, then yeah, by all means, it's doing something for them.
Okay. So, I pray all the time. I pray every morning. I pray whenever I need to kind of feel like my mind is at a clusterfuck. I use the power of prayer to really put myself in perspective and prioritize what's really important at the time. And I go through a list of things that I'm really grateful for, things that I'm thankful for, things that I would like to see in this world more often. In that realm, that's where I believe in the power of prayer. If it gives you a moment to provide context to your situation, to help you center yourself, to really kind of understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling, kind of talk things through, I think you should. I think if you feel that you're in a particular funk or an unfortunate situation, and having people say, hey man, we're thinking about you, by saying, I'll pray for you, and that helps you, then by all means, I think the power of prayer is perfectly fine. Where I do not believe in the power of prayer is if you feel you telling somebody, I'll pray for you, means job done. in that scenario, then I think people are losing the true meaning of it. I think if you really do pray for that person and pray that they help get out of that horrific situation, by nature, you're going to feel compelled to do something. If German's in an unfortunate situation and German's like, I just need everybody to pray for me, I'm like, all right, I got you. And if I really sit there and think about it, what are the thought processes you go through? Damn, I'm sorry that German's got to go through this. He doesn't deserve this. Damn, I'm not going through it. I am so lucky right now because I'm not that. Fuck. Okay, so like I'll feel like I should do something, and then you kind of feel more compelled. Now that's the power prayer to me. If I say if I say, German, I'm gonna pray for you, and I turn around, do nothing, German continues to suffer, I'm just saying, I pray for you, German. Nothing. German continues to suffer. You're losing the meaning. German might feel tangibly better for a short period of time, but in the long term, the fact of the matter is he's still suffering. So when it comes to prayer, I think if you're just saying it just to say it, and nothing is done, no action is done behind it, it's not really a power of prayer per se. And so I don't mind if people say, I'll pray for you in unfortunate situations, but I also don't mind when people are like, guys, instead of praying, how about we like donate or do this or do that? Like there's going to be people who are on both sides. I don't mind people expressing themselves on where they stand on the spectrum because I see it. It just, for me, it's sort of more of a reflective use or like sort of a tone of collecting my thoughts and just being like, damn, like I truly am lucky to be where I am, to do what I get to do, to have a roof over my head, clothes on my back, food on the table. I can fucking just tap on a phone, a couple clicks, and food's in my door in an hour, and I don't even bat an eye. I have a fucking bidet.
God's a godsend.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I literally can run out of toilet paper and be like, that's okay.
That is literally true.
Yeah, like, it's just like, it helps put things in perspective. So when I'm like stressed out at work or stressed out about parts of my life, I'm like, man, why am I so stressed?
Yeah, but see, at least doing that puts you in a mindset of, the initial mindset of being blessed and being thankful.
Yes.
Which in a form you could say is a form of, depending on how you look at it, a religious belief or a spiritual belief.
Yeah.
But it at least puts you in that mindset. It's just I don't like the forcing of stuff, being forced to do something, and being felt bad for not doing it. All right, and I've told Kongs on this many times. I'm a grown ass man. Maybe not obviously, but I'm a grown ass man. But my parents still give me shit about not going to church. They still give me shit about not going to church.
Yeah.
And it does suck. Actually, however, what I will say is maybe because of the man I am today, I was made the man I am today because of perhaps the ideals and the principles that I was brought up with.
Sure.
A big part of that would be the religious principles and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I feel like when it comes to terms of religion and spirituality, you shouldn't be forced to do it.
Yeah. On that note, I think just because it's part of what made you the man you are today doesn't mean it's a necessity for you to be the part of the man you're going to be tomorrow.
Whoa, that sounds like some
you know what I mean?
That was.
And this is like it like kind of bleeds into another topic of how we saw the world as we were growing up, what we thought the world was going to be, and then what it turned out to be. And there's very much a debate about society today, and the hot buzzword is millennials.
Which we are.
So I think we have quite a bit of expertise here. I don't know, like about 20 plus years.
Something like that.
Yeah, of living. I think growing up, my parents are very blunt. My parents are very honest. But also they were careful about their timing. in the sense of like as a kid they let me believe in Santa Claus and Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny and dressing up for Halloween. And then after a certain age, they decided to tell me the truth about all that. But they still let me believe in the I almost said facade, but it's like in the dream of what kids believe you can do as an adult, right? When you're like 11 or 12, you're like, I can't wait till I'm an adult. That's like 18, and you're just like, I could do this, that. I can't wait to go to college or like drive and blah, blah, blah. And then I reach another certain age and my parents kind of break the truth on all those. And as you go on, and then after 18, it's just kind of like,
sucks.
Cool. Well, see ya. And it geared me up to have a certain expectation and a certain reality of the world that wasn't so far apart that it's causing me trouble. I think I see that in instances of people that have been in my life in high school. It's sort of the analogy is similar to drinking.
I love this.
I had my first drink when I was 15. My parents knew that I drank, and they just wanted to make sure I didn't drink a lot. They're still in denial for some reason that I only drink like a little bit, and they get surprised when I take shots. I just play along, whatever, but they don't know, I go ham. But the point is,
can't wait to explain that.
The point is
down the line.
Yeah, way later. The point is, I started drinking maybe earlier than one would expect, and compare that to somebody who did not drink at all until they were 21, until they went to college, and they were sort of no longer living with their parents, so they were not in their parents' rule or control. And a lot of those people that I know ended up in the hospital at least once, if not multiple times, for drinking too much. And so I kind of see it in that sense. I think my parents sort of told me things earlier than maybe society deemed it was okay to tell your kids. I was like 8 years old when my mom woke me up because I thought the Tooth Fairy was going to come, and she's like, lift your head, give me your tooth. And I was like, what about Tooth Fairy? She's like, it's been me this whole time. Here's $5.
Oh, you got $5?
God damn, that's a lot of money.
Well, she would ask for it back. It was just kind of like,
Wait, what?
There's a service charge.
It was like those types of events that kind of happened throughout life, where it was just like, mixing in reality as I got older, and I was able to understand it. That I really do appreciate. That kind of. It's not necessarily, it hasn't been a seamless transition, but it's definitely been a very understanding transition. So when something happens that I don't expect, that I thought life was going to be different, there's a short period of time where I kind of have trouble understanding it. But once it clicks, it's it. I'm done, So it just like keeps going. Every time that happens, the time it takes for me to try to comprehend the scenario and why it's different gets shorter and shorter incrementally as it goes. So I don't really have too much more to say about that topic. There hasn't been a time where I'm like, but this and that, and like all these conflicting things. But I'm interested to see if you guys have had those experiences at all.
Well, my dad kind of ties into like religion and spirituality too, because he was agnostic. And so he always told me, you don't need anyone to tell you to be good. Just be good.
Yeah.
And that's like rang true to me.
That's bars right there.
For real.
Like my entire life. And so no one needs to tell you to do the right thing. Just do it because that's your moral compass.
That's a tattoo right there.
Yeah.
On your lower back.
Maybe not that one.
As you bend over, you go, do the right thing. No one has to be here to tell you to do the right thing.
I thought you were talking about the compass pointing south.
Oh. You can have it on the front.
Huh, you know where to go.
Yeah. Compass.
Haba.
So it's just the world I grew up in was just. I wouldn't say it was like rainbows and butterflies or anything. I've pretty much figured out. So Christmas is right around the corner, right?
Yes.
Fact.
I found out about Santa not being real. Oh, spoiler alert. Santa not being real. When I was 6 or 5 or something.
Nice.
It was when I just moved into the house and then into my house, and I see the gift. We didn't have a chimney, so I was like, "Where's the gift gonna be?" It was hanging on the front door.
Amazon.
And
Prime before Prime.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Man, that's Mom's writing."
You were a smart kid.
Yeah.
See?
And so my sister found out about Santa the same time I did, because I was like, "That's Mom's writing." And that's also the same wrapping paper. There's no Santa.
But did you flip out? Were you like, "But what? I thought it was real." Like, how did you?
Nah, because same time, like when I was thinking about the tooth fairy, like my mom would just put money into like my school folder. I'm just like, tooth fairy supposed to be under the pillow, but it's not there. So it's just I was very logical when I was a kid.
Okay.
I'm still pretty logical now.
I would say so.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah. And
I would say so.
It's just
I would hope so.
right. So it's just from my experience when I was younger, I would just think things through all the way. And now that I see everything coming as it is, I wish I was a kid, man.
Yeah, man, I don't think I ever had a Santa. I don't think I ever was. I think I knew the theory of Santa. Yeah, and this is probably the most scientific you'll ever hear someone talk about Santa Claus. Mm-hmm. But I don't ever remember having an epiphany like, whoa, so there's no such thing as Santa Claus? Fuck, where do these presents come from?
Yeah, I don't remember that either.
Right? It's just like, hi, Mom. I was like, oh, Merry Christmas. You know, I'm, oh, thanks, Mom, whatever. The Tooth Fairy, however, I waited on that bitch, dude.
Did you really?
Set up traps.
Bro, honestly, and maybe it helps because obviously, as my parents, as the boys here know, my dad works in dentistry. And
He is one of the Tooth Fairy's workers.
yeah. He's like the tooth daddy, you know? I remember watching a commercial with it was a dental commercial for whatever, some health plan at the time, way back in the day, and it showed a nice white family, and like they had like a lady, the kid had like a no tooth, right, and then she woke up and she had like a quarter or something like that, and I was like, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? And the headline was something about, hey, these dentists work harder than Tooth Fairy. Join us, something yada yada, right? And I was like, at first, in hindsight, that's a great marketing scheme.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when I saw that, I was like, whoa, so you make money out of teeth? Money's dope. You know what I mean? And so I tried it one time, and I remember telling my mom, hey, Mom, I mean, I don't know if the Tooth Fairy is going to come today, but I have a tooth under my pillow. And she goes, okay. And then I found it there, and I was like, whoa, I could turn teeth into money. There was a point in my life, maybe about a 2-week span,
Where you were toothless?
where I lost about 4 to 5 teeth. Okay. They weren't necessarily supposed to come out at these times, but I tell you what, I made a killing during that time. And then
$20.
it was like $1.20 or something like that. But to a whatever 6, 7 year old, is like, whoa, this is money. And until finally my dad, I think it was my dad or my mom, I don't remember, but they were like, look, son, you have to stop doing this.
Yeah, your gums are bleeding.
Your gums are bleeding. You look like a hobo, and we can't do this. And I was like, oh, okay. So I knew that it wasn't real, but I was just like, hey, I get money out of this,
Yeah, we can only feed you banana pudding for so long.
It's you can't. Baby food doesn't work for kids who are over 8 years old.
Yeah.
But no, man, it's weird, dude. I think nowadays I still feel like I'm reliving, or I am. What do I always say? Living vicariously.
Yeah.
Through myself, seeing myself as a child. I would say I was a little more. I wasn't super sheltered. I wasn't homeschooled or anything like that. I was able to play with the kids in my cul-de-sac. That was cool. But I think growing up, I was. My dad is very skeptical of things. Mm-hmm. He's very careful, methodical the way he works things. So he's not very just willy-nilly, fucking let's do it. You know what I mean? And I've had other friends who just like on a whim was like, hey, Dad, I want to buy a new Game Boy game today. All right, son, let's do it. Whereas just like, hey, Dad, are you going to pick me up on time today? You know what I mean? Where I didn't really get to have the luxuries that other people did. And that might be a financial thing. And no disrespect to my parents. I'm obviously, I'm okay. And I'm very thankful for what they did. But, you know, as you're growing up, as one of the themes is you start picking things up and you start learning, you start seeing other things. You start seeing how the world works. And it's almost like when you see someone happy, you want to be happy as well, whether it be materialistic or not. But when I started seeing things, it's like, oh man, they look like they're having a good time. I want to have a good time.
Yeah.
Maybe I just wasn't as resourceful enough, or that's what I wanted. But I mean, that's why I buy a bunch of dumb shit every day. You know what I mean? That's why I buy a bunch of shoes and a bunch of clothes and all that bullshit. You know what I mean? Maybe to fill a void. But I'm slowly realizing, because I'm on the cusp of 30, it's like, you can't be doing shit like that anymore. You know what I mean? You can't be buying all this crazy, luxurious stuff and expect to still feed. You know, I don't even have a fucking family, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think I'm improving, you know, but I'm in a weird transitional period, although I'm almost 30.
Yeah,
I
like
sound like a baby.
when I was younger, I was like, I'm gonna have kids when I'm 28, or I'm gonna get married when I'm 27. I'm gonna have kids when I'm 28. Man, that's right now for me.
You better get going, bro.
And then, like, some of my coworkers, they're like, "Hey, do you have kids?" Or like my newer coworkers, and like, "Hey, do you have kids?" I'm like, "Nah." There's some days that I don't even remember to feed myself. Like, I can't have that responsibility of having kids. And back as a kid, just thinking, by this time I would have had my life together.
Yeah.
And start bringing other lives into the world. Like, to have that responsibility, I think that's something that I need to go back to. Maybe not the child self, but maybe the teenage self. Like, hey, get your shit together now if you want these things to happen.
For sure.
Yeah, I think the only reason why I thought I would have a kid by 30 was because my grandmother had my dad when she was 40. My dad had me when he was 30. So I'm like, it's easy to remember everyone's age if it's like in tens. I should have a kid when I'm 30, so I'll never forget what age he is.
You should have had a kid 10 years ago, bro.
You know, so that's the reason I thought it. But yeah, you guys are right. I now I don't necessarily see how I can potentially raise a child at the moment, but
I don't know, Constantine. I think of all of us, I think you probably the best.
Like, he's still got two eyes.
Hey, your baby had two eyes, right?
Is there blood?
I think there is a distinct difference, and the reason why millennials are thrown around so much, I think there's a distinct difference in how we communicate in today's day and age. And I think what that's done, in my opinion, has lost people's sense of empathy. I think what's going on in today's day and age versus how it was growing up is everything was in sync growing up. Meaning, everything that you wanted to do in life needed some sort of coordination and time. If I wanted to hang out with German and Andrew, I'd have to call them on our house phone. Hi, Miss. This is Kong-san. Is German home? Yeah, can I talk to him, please? You know, you have to build that skill.
And all of a sudden, yo, what up, German?
And then be like, hey, German, can you hang out on Saturday? And then German's gonna ask and say, yeah, okay, all right. So we're gonna meet, 11 a.m. We're gonna, I'll be at your place. Grab your bike. We're gonna do this, and this. Okay, and then from there, you don't hear from your parents. Your parents are just like, just come home before dark. Okay. That was it, right? Everything that we did growing up took time. It took some form of time, patience, and all this other stuff. Nowadays, there is a shortened period of time with communication. iMessage is one of the best inventions in the world.
Greatest. One of the greatest.
Right? But what that's done is it allowed us to instantly communicate with each other. Now, for me, what I notice is that it creates a discrepancy between those aspects of technology and how it's enhanced our lives, and something like career development, where before it used to kind of sync together. Things took time, generally speaking, so it was naturally easier to have patience to climb the corporate ladder to your job. Now, with this instant of things, people can now easily fall into the trap of trying to be instantly famous, instantly rich, instantly successful.
Of course.
And then it creates this imbalance of like, but I see all these things in life that I can do quickly. Why not this? And I think that's where the millennial comes in, because, you know, the previous generation is like, oh, they're entitled. They don't have patience, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, look, listen, first of all, sure, there may be people in this world that have those types of characteristics of their personality, but it isn't just millennials. It's people that are older than us, and it's people that's younger than us. So, you know, go fuck off.
Yeah, the amount of shit that you can say against us millennials, we can exponentially say more to those.
So I
older.
I think we just kind of have to change the way we communicate and change the way we set expectations for the world today. An example of that is something that we can talk about as three men, is this definition, this change in society's view of masculinity. Now, I personally don't necessarily believe there's been as much of a change as people may portray. You know, some people feel in this world that men are dead and feel that masculinity is going away and all this other stuff. I just don't believe it. But let's open it up. Like, I don't know what you guys think.
I believe it to a degree. I think it's a law of averages for the amount of people, and we'll just use women because we're men. The amount of women that would gravitate towards a man that looks masculine, and let's just say the general definition of a man who's masculine is they're not chiseled, but they're somewhere between 5'9", 5'10" to about 6'2", 6'1". They're not ripped, they're not slim, they're not yoked, but they're just decently built. Okay, maybe say a 6 foot, 190 pound man. And actually, I should have ended with height, but height I think is like the biggest thing.
Okay.
And I mean, we see it on these dating apps, you know, not to make another anecdotal reference to these dating apps, but we see it literally when women say, don't text me or don't message me, don't even like me if you're under 5'10", you know? And so they start molding their definition of masculinity, right? But adverse to that, which I'm hoping, maybe because I don't see it because I'm not out enough, are the other women who are looking at it from the other side of the spectrum, who are saying, it's fine, you know, you don't have to be that tall. Just, you know, be funny, have a good personality and all that stuff.
Make sure your name rhymes with Berman.
Yeah, make sure your name rhymes with Berman, Bongsan, or Banjo, you know. But I guess as far as the bell curve goes, I would like to hope that there's the same amount of people on one side or the other, and then usually towards the middle is like that weird area where you pair whatever your definition of masculinity is to your personality and your thoughts, your beliefs, and all that stuff. I'm hoping that's wider because it opens it up more for more people. But for devil's advocate, I see a lot of people who just think that, you know, the masculinity, what it once was, is still is today. However, there are more channels now, right? Like the whole Ariana Grande and Pete Davidson big dick energy. You know what I mean? The confidence exuding out of yourself. There's more of that, fortunately, just because people are more comfortable nowadays in this day and age of the millennials and 21st century and all that stuff. That's good. But I think, you know, there's still a lot of people who long for like the actual definition of masculinity.
And you think in general there's not as many of those people?
I'm hoping not. I'm hoping not.
No, I'm saying in terms of men. Like, you think those types of men are not as prevalent?
No, I think they are.
Okay.
I think they are. I think if you just take a sample size of, take any random 5 photos from 1985.
Yeah, they're about the same. If not, we're bigger now.
Right. But I think we're prettier now.
Yeah. Well, everything's better. It's evolution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if I believe in that as well, then I would think that men and women have evolved into something better also.
What was your guys' like definition of masculinity growing up? Like, for me, it was a lot of home improvement, Timothy Toolman Taylor. Like, I thought a man is like work on stuff with your hands, mostly. And also it helped that my dad was in air conditioning, so he spends a lot of time with his hands too. He knows how to fix refrigerators, washing machines. He knows how to rewire things, what to do with his car, and like these things that you also see on Home Improvement with Tim the Toolman Taylor. And
that dude's a man.
I thought that was the definition of a man.
I'm talking about your dad. I'm not talking about Tim. Tim.
I know. And that's sort of was my frame of reference growing up, when what I thought a man would be. It had nothing necessarily to do with strength. There was a variation of it. I think strength was a byproduct of working with your hands, but it was mostly like, I can solve any situation. I know my way out. I can figure things out. I can fix things. I know the direction to take this problem. Even if I can't be the one to solve it, I know where to go with it. That was sort of the message for me. So for me, the definition of what it is to be a man today, what it was 20 years ago, what it was 29 years ago, 28 years ago.
How old are you, son?
Dude, I couldn't figure out how old I was a few days ago.
Oh shit!
What it's gonna be moving forward? I don't know if it'll change. I don't know if my definition will change.
For me, growing up, with my dad being the literal father figure in my life, masculinity was always, it wasn't like set in stone. Like, he would fix things around the house, but he had no problem asking someone else to do it for him. Gender roles in my family were pretty non-existent because my dad would be cleaning the house more than my mom would. Mm-hmm. And although my mom would cook a lot more meals, when my dad did cook, he was always the better chef. And so it was just like, everything that society told me that masculinity was, I didn't grow up with that kind of like stigma or anything. It was just, if you're a person, then do people things. And so my view on masculinity based off of my childhood is just, you could do whatever you want to do. Yeah. And you could be seen however you want to be seen. It doesn't matter if you're masculine or not, or feminine, whatever. Those roles really don't matter when you're just living your life. So
a quarter mile at a time.
Yeah, I think there were certain stigmas that I grew up with that I thought I needed, and it was like kind of difficult to get over. So like a stigma is being like, knowing how to solve everything. Like, if I didn't know how to solve everything, I thought, shit, I'm less of a man.
Oh, yeah. That was my number one.
Whereas like nowadays, like now that I'm older, it's like it's okay if you don't know. It's okay if you just be like, what the fuck did that is. It's like, it doesn't make you any less of a man, I think there's a baseline definition for me personally, and the idea is just more of like being self-sufficient, being confident enough in this world where you understand that you have meaning and you belong. Having morals and principles, doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do, stuff like that. Yeah,
but like by that definition, it's just like
being a good person.
What does that make? Where does that leave women?
Well, the point I'm trying to make with that is just saying that this notion that the man or like that masculinity is going down in today's society because people feel that they're more sensitive or they're less able. I just don't buy into that notion. I think that there are certain aspects of masculinity that's definitely changed. I just don't think that there's as much of an emphasized importance in physical fitness these days that there were back in 60s, 70s, 80s, where it's like, you know, you smoke, you drink, you have a good time, but you also pick up heavy ass weights. Yeah. You know, and to a degree, that's sort of a world that I grew up in. And I think that's why I love lifting weights to the extent that I do. And it also changed my life, but you know, that's also a factor. But
that's why I lifted a lot of weights, because I was like, I'm going to be a macho guy.
Yeah. And I don't think that theme exists as much. So in that sense, I can see the definition of masculinity changing, but that to Andrew's point, it doesn't, I just think masculinity, femininity, like it's just be a person, be who you are, be authentic, be genuine. And that's the definition. That is who you are. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just think that I just don't buy into that notion. It's like, well, it's different to be a man these days, or it's harder to be a man these days. Is it really? Like, you have to ask yourself, like, why is it harder? What aspects of life is more difficult? And you often realize, oh, it's just because the person was being a dick, or a creep, or both.
Or that person who's asking that question is not doing
or
what they're supposed to be doing.
Or the person that's asking the question is like, I don't want to change. I want the world to change to me. So, you know, it's just, I don't buy that. I don't know.
Yeah. I think we're all masculine here.
Oh, for sure. I think
masculine.
We all have like at this table, we're three different definitions of masculinity.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, we're all masculine in our own ways.
And that's the definition of masculinity. It's just be you, you know?
Yeah.
Be yourself kind of thing. Well, before we wrap this up, we want to end this with some good news. If you've heard the episode prior to this by now, there was a part of that was cut out because of technical difficulties, and I'm really praying that this story makes it to this episode. So, it was an article written over the weekend, and I believe her name, the author of the article, her name was Shirley Wang.
Yes.
And she wrote an article that was titled "The Unlikely Friendship Between a Cat Litter Scientist and Charles Barkley." And that very much caught the social media storm. And the reason we want to talk about this is partly because it's a story about an Asian American family. It's a story about companionship and brotherhood. It's a story about good times. And it's a story about being there for one another. And all of those are a theme that we want to carry here at Good Times with the Boys. So I think doing this a second time will help kind of
iron out the details
a little bit more efficiently. So Shirley Wang writes about her father, Lynn, and Charles Barkley. Now, Lynn is a cat litter scientist from Iowa City, Iowa, who happened to be in Sacramento for whatever reason, and he was at the lobby of his hotel, saw Charles Barkley at a bar, noticed they were the only two at the bar, decided to sit down and have a chat. Now, for context, Lynn knew who Charles Barkley was, but it was in his demeanor, his friendly nature, just go say hello. Turns out they said hello to each other for a few hours, went to dinner the same night, came back to the bar the same night, and spent the next 3 nights together kind of hanging out, and the friendship was born. Now, this was about 4 years ago, and they were sharing text messages back and forth. To Shirley's account, when she recalls asking her dad to see the text to Charles Barkley, she mentioned it was a lot of one-way conversations, meaning Lynn was just like, "Hey, Charles, saw you on TV.
Charles.
Great, blah, blah,
Hey,
blah."
Charles.
And there's no response.
Charles Barkley. Hey, Charles Barkley.
But they, would hang out whenever they're in the same city. Charles was kind enough to bring Lynn onto the TNT set and take pictures of Kenny, Shaq, and Ernie, which is really cool. Then there was an unfortunate event in 2015 where Charles Barkley's mother passed away. And, for those who don't know, Charles Barkley was born in Alabama. And in the dead heat of summer in the South, you can imagine it's maybe not the most favorable place to be. Nevertheless, Lynn found where the funerals were going to be held, made an appearance much to Charles's surprise, and he knew from then he had a friend for life. In late 2016, Lynn was diagnosed with cancer, and he didn't want to tell Charles. And I think that's sort of, not to make it stereotypical, but culturally speaking, is a very Asian thing to do. Sort of like, no one needs to hear this bad news. I'm just going to go away in peace kind of thing. Charles found out. Charles was upset, kind of made it official. Like, hey man, I thought we were friends. Like, why are you fucking keeping this stuff from me? Shirley mentions that the whole time Lynn was in the hospital trying to beat this cancer, he would often watch the TNT overtime and watch those guys. And those were the few laughs that he had during his last days here. And when Lynn passed away, it was the day after the NBA Finals had ended. And Charles Barkley, much to everybody's surprise, probably one of the few non-Asians in an Asian place, showed up to pay his respects and sort of, I think he even gave a eulogy at the funeral. He rekindled memories with Lynn and told Shirley, just because me and your dad used to be friends doesn't mean like, our conversation or my communication with you is over. We need to stay in touch. Me and you, we're linked. And it was a very touching and heartwarming story that sort of defies any social, economical, racial, stereotypical thing that you would think of, whether it's famous and non-famous, whether you think it's rich, and I'm pretty sure he was, decently, like at least in he wasn't lower class, I'm sure, but it was like very wealthy and not wealthy. It was a boy from the country and a man from China. There's a lot of these, is it contradictions? A lot of these opposing factors that still developed this friendship. And I thought it was a very heartwarming story to kind of see, like, we're as different as we can be. We're also that much more of the same. And
same but different.
Same but different. So we want to end that with that story. You just never know who you'll run into. You never know who will be your friend. You never know what kind of impact you may have with the people you come across. So, if somebody cuts you off, just assume that person has to go to the bathroom really bad, and live your life. And do, in Andrew's words, do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And in German's words, don't be so entitled.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be like me.
So, you can be like German.
Oh, okay. That's
yeah. Cool. Yeah. It's okay to be like German.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be like Max. Just kidding.
Just kidding. You could be like Max. He's a good boy. He's a good boy.
Yeah. So let's end it there. This was a nice talk about sort of growing up in this world, what it's like now, what it is, what it was and what it is, and how it's changed. The important thing is, because hopefully I think you'll listen to this around the new year, the important thing is no matter where you feel you are in this world, no matter where you feel you haven't been or whatever the case may be, every waking moment you have a chance to make a change, and it's never too late, and it's never a time where you can't do something. You have to have some patience. You have to have some diligence. And you really have to have an honest conversation with yourself or with your closest friends about what you really want out of life, what you really want out of your friends, what you really want out of your family, what you wish to accomplish. It's never too late to have that conversation. And if you had that conversation, you should have it again. You know, as you get older, things are going to change, and it's okay if it does. And the important thing is just to keep going. The important thing is to show up and be like water.
Yeah,
Andy Bernard said he wishes there was a way to know that you were in the good times before they left. Right now is the good times.
with the boys.
With the boys.
Michael Scott said, that's what she said.
Get us the fuck out of here.
Let's end it there.
Find us on Instagram and Twitter at _GTWTB. Email any inquiries at andrew@gtwtb.com. And
Check us out on Spotify, iTunes Music,
Apple Podcasts,
Apple Podcast,
SoundCloud.
the Tube. Around here in the South Bay in the 3. Catch us rolling around here. But you know where to find us. And we'll eventually know where to find you.
Yeah. So if you wait, what? Wait, what?
They're like, oh yeah, whoa.
So if you listen to this around the new year, on behalf of the Good Times with the Boys crew, we wish y'all a very, very happy new year.
And Merry Christmas too first, man.
Yeah, Merry
happy
Christmas,
holidays.
happy holiday season.
Oh, happy holidays.
You know, whatever goals you set for 2019, I hope you accomplish it.
yeah, just do the damn thing.
Just do the damn thing, and we'll end it there. So thank you for listening to another episode of Good Times with the Boys, and until next time.
Bye-bye.
I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you.